I believe that as a woman, you should avoid getting married. You should avoid having children. Marriage benefits men, and having children benefits the patriarchy.
I'm all for individual rights. You do what you want to do. But at the end of the day, this sounds like cope. This sounds like her own dating life and experiences have jaded her to where now she feels it's necessary to preach to other women not to do certain things or to live life a certain type of way. Because at the end of the day, this is just one perspective. This is her life through the lens of herself. You can't speak for all women. You can't speak for all men. Let's get into this video.
This is my scolding hot take, and you're either going to be ready to hear this or you're not going to be. Women historically have been slaves. I understand there's different forms of slavery, but women, in the true definition of the word, have been enslaved. Marriage was the act of making women property. Marriage was the way of exchanging women as property. Marriage was the property transfer of a woman between her father and her husband. Regardless of how you feel about it, that's the fact. That was the original purpose of marriage as a construct. The reason why you see divorce rates rise is because women finally have agency over whether or not we stay in these marriages. The reason why you're seeing marriage rates and birth rates decline is because for the first time in human history, women have had more agency than we've ever had on whether or not we get married in the first place and whether or not we decide to have children.
Okay, so first off, she starts out being disingenuous. Of course, there have been women who are slaves, but to be married is to be a slave. That's not true. That's disingenuous, and she knows it. Of course, you're gonna have men and women for that matter who take advantage of their partner in ancient times and now today. But to say marriage itself as a construct, as a covenant, is to be enslaved is ridiculous. Now, you could say in ancient times or even before biblical times, the purpose of marriage was not necessarily for romantic love. It was more so for family legacy, strategic alliances, or even the transferring of property to make sure that a certain group of people or a certain person has what you want them to have. But to inherently say that marriage is a life of servitude for a man or a woman is just ludicrous. That's ridiculous. That's being observed through a lens of trauma from situations where there was women who were being taken advantage of in their marriages from ancient times now to this day. But the same thing can be said about men. There are certain women who rule over these men. And the reason why the divorce rate is so high is because everybody wants to be a free agent nowadays. We have a free market literally for dating. Dating has become globalized. You can fly to different countries all around the world and pull up Tinder and meet somebody that night. When you have access to the opposite sex that easy, there's no need to be tied down to one specific person. And I actually do believe that the reason divorce has been on a rise is especially due to the fall of religion. Whether you believe in religion or not, that was one institution that held people accountable to staying together in a relationship. For better or for worse, sometimes staying in a relationship for the religious cause wasn't the best thing to do.
There is a reason why women have been socially conditioned into believing that if we don't have children, or if we're not married, or a man didn't choose us, that's like the biggest insult to our identity or our value as human beings. I personally disagree with the entire construct of marriage. I believe that marriage signifies the ownership of women, and I disagree with it as a concept as a...
All right, so I'm going to get a little controversial here. So you might not like what I'm about to say, but it's the reality of things. The reason why there is this construct that women are supposed to be married and have kids is because that is literally what they're born to do. Now, hear me out. I'm not saying that in the perspective of they can't bring any more to society or that they have nothing more to give to society but children. We have some women that do great things out here. Everything from philosophers, inventors, athletes, and the list goes on. I'm saying that as men can't have children. I cannot get pregnant and push out a baby out of me. A woman can. So that's why they are praised and prized, because only females can have children. And for the betterment of that child, it's important that the woman is in a loving, caring, committed relationship with a man for the nurturing of those children and not being promiscuous, where she doesn't necessarily know who the baby father is and a lifestyle of multiple different emotions and attitudes from different men coming into the picture, or just her herself having emotional trauma from all these different men. And I know a lot of people already know this. It should seem like common sense, but in this day and age, people really think freedom is being able to do whatever you want, even if it's bad for you. Sometimes we have to have certain institutions, standards, or expectations in place so that we don't destroy ourselves and or destroy our world.
And if you're not new to my page, you know that I have no intention of ever getting married. I relish in the idea idea of being single. I do not want to have any children. And I relish in the idea that for the first time, I'm one of the first generations of women who have the freedom to not participate in any of those things.
And that's 100% fine. If that's what you want to do, there's nothing I can say about it. The problem that arises is the fact that if you're committing yourself to being single, you're asking for a life full of emotional roller coasters and emotional instability. You're going to be constantly interacting with different personalities, different characters. They're going to make you feel some type of way. You're going to make them feel some type of way. But always being on the outside and never wanting to commit could be very problematic for your emotions and as well as for theirs. Even with open communication, somebody's going to catch feelings. And I'm not even going to begin to discuss the STD risk of these people. Yeah, you can have an open line of communication, but at the end of the day, if they lie to you, now you're stuck with something that you didn't want to have. And I truly believe when you sit down at your house alone with your dogs, with your pets, this goes for men and women, you are going to realize how empty and lost your life is because you don't have somebody to share it with. And even if there is someone there, it's only temporary because you're not 100% committing yourself to that person anyway. I am going to go ahead and say this. I don't necessarily think that marriage is for everyone. Commitment isn't for everyone. I don't think there's this one person out there for you that you should be with for the rest of your life. Life is so open and vast that that's something that doesn't work for everyone, and I understand that. For some people, they might want to be polygamous. For others, they might want to be monogamous. And then you have those few who just want to be single for the rest of their lives. But I really truly think they haven't found who they really are yet and what type of partner that they're looking for. They haven't found them.
So to me, not only is it not an insult to my identity and does not dictate my worthiness as a human being, it is a privilege that I get to choose not to get married. It is a privilege that I get to choose not to have children. And I believe that as a woman, you should avoid getting married. You should avoid having children. I think if you are even remotely on the fence about any of those concepts, you need to avoid it.
I think it is a privilege to have freedom over your body and who you are, your identity, everything. To say that those who choose to be married, whether it's a man or a woman, to say that they are a slave, a servant, is ridiculous. And that is clearly just said for rage bait, and she's just trolling. Because that's from a perspective of someone who didn't want to get married in the first place, or somebody who was subjugated to trauma in their marriage, which does not happen for everyone. I mean, you got girls out here that actively say how bad they want children. I've had multiple women say that they wanted children after meeting me. So maybe it's just her perspective. Maybe she hasn't met the right man for her just yet, where she feels like she can fully release herself to that man and they can live happily ever after, even though fairy tales don't exist.
Marriage benefits men, and having children benefits the patriarchy. I'm not saying that no one should have children, or that's where it gets kind of like muddy. Like, I think that marriage does have protections for women who do want to have children, or for women who are with a partner who's great. There are legal protections around that marriage works in favor for. But as a general concept, I think marriage represents the enslavement of women.
The only thing that reproducing means to society is just having more kids, more grown people on this planet. You're gonna have ones who are successful, you're gonna have others who are losers. You're gonna have some who benefit society and others who don't. Just like the rest of us who are born, we are not all subjugated to oppression of a specific people or group. We're individuals at the end of the day that can do great things, and being a pessimist about society and its people shouldn't be the main thing on your radar. You should be worried and concerned about the great things that can happen from our existence and the continuation of our human race. And like I said before, marriage itself is not inherently bad. Just think of it as a commitment to somebody. Are you really saying it's bad to commit yourself to people? I mean, for the most part, everyone commits themselves to their families. Even though we have some bozos in the family, we still love them. We may not like them, but we love them. So is it so bad to commit to another person? I'm not saying that you have to have one person for the rest of your life. You can have multiple. But is it a bad thing to believe in that person, to support them if they support you? And throwing this title of marriage like it's some spooky ghost. It's not. It's just commitment at the end of the day. Either you are going to stay committed to this person or you're not. But marriage itself is not a boogeyman.
I think marriage represents, and this is just the way it is. This isn't my opinion. This is what it's been historically. Marriage represents the ownership of property that is women.
So obviously that's not true. There are some instances of that happening in history, but here today and even going back hundreds of years, that's just not true. But another thing I would add is, what about the opposite to men? This whole idea of traditional gender roles, a man is supposed to be going out and making the money, so he's the one that's subjected to reality and life. the harshness of it. He's supposed to make a loving, nurturing home for his wife and his children, not let them be poor on the street. Some might say, oh, being a mother, taking care of your kids is a job in itself, and I do agree with that to a certain extent. However, responsibilities are responsibilities nonetheless. You would already have to make your own food. You would already have to make your bed, take out the trash, wash the dishes for yourself, to take care of yourself. So if you have to do that for a few more people, it's not the end of the world. I understand it could be a big job, but some people have it a lot harder. And not only that, child rearing and being a mother has been a thing since the beginning of time. The idea that you being in a house and doing that is taking over your mind is just insane. To be honest, I just think you didn't prep yourself to be a mother yet. You need to emotionally prime yourself with understanding the responsibilities of what it takes to be a mother and a wife at that. It seems like a lot of these people are not ready to take on responsibility. They're living in the moment and then just get caught up. And now they have chores to do. I'm talking to those men out there as well, because there's a lot of dudes out here that get women pregnant and they have a bum ass job, or they have no job and they have no idea how they're going to support this child, or it's a panic and they don't really want to have the kid, but the woman wants to have the kid, and now the dude's pressuring the girl to get rid of it or to keep it, yada yada. It's this whole situation. These situations wouldn't happen if we all just grew up, took care of our responsibilities, and understood what our purpose is in life, whether it is to have kids or not, or to be in a committed relationship with this person or not. That's the problem. A lot of people want to act like children for the rest of their lives, and that's why you got these bum people out here. But those bum people do not represent all of society.
Marriage is a huge deal, and especially as a woman, if you are at all on the fence about getting married, you need to not get married. The soft life, they're not doing anything with your life, not making your own money. You need to make your own money. That is a privilege. That is a blessing that you live in a time where you can make your own money and you can make something out of your own life. Do not trade this privilege that women have fought for a G-Wagon.
I 100% agree with her. No matter what, if you have second thoughts of being with your partner, even if it's just in a relationship and not even a fiance or marriage status just yet, you need to rethink and double check if this is what you really want, because more than likely, it's not what you want. And that's the reality. A lot of people get into a certain situation and then realize, yeah, I never wanted to be with this person to begin with. So that's why they scramble and try to get out of it later on in life. But we know how things go. Life continues to happen. You're in a relationship already, then you move in, then one night you get her pregnant on accident, or you get pregnant on accident. Now you're having a kid. Now you really realize you don't like this person and their personality and their overall demeanor. That's how it always goes. So that's why you have to be comfortable and know yourself, and also know that other person and understand if they would ever change to become the person they are, or if they already are the person you need them to be right now. Don't get into a certain situation and hope things work out for the best. That's not how life works.
Or for trips to Erewhon. You are worth so much more than that. Your life is worth so much more than that. You live in a time unlike any other in human history. There are women before you who would have given anything to be able to have the opportunities that you have today. They would have given anything. If you marry a rich man, your life will be controlled by him. Your quality of life is going to be dictated by that man. Your relationship may look a certain way today, but it could be very different 10 years from now. It could be very different after you have 4 of his children. It's not worth the Chanel bags. It's not worth the Cartier bracelets. It's not worth the fancy vacations. This is your one life.
See, and that's where that jaded mindset starts. You can't say that your life is going to be dictated by this man. If you're in a loving, caring relationship where this man really cares for you, he's going to do the best for you, or at least you should hope he should. That's why it's very important to pick the right partner. That goes for men and women. And that's the thing though, for anybody on this planet, our relationships with people are always going to change. I'm sure our relationships with our siblings or even our family members is going to change 10 years from now. It's not going to be the same. So to think that being with this one person is going to be the same is ridiculous. That's why I said it's not that we don't need to be married, or it's not that we don't need to be committing to each other. It's just that we have to understand each other. People drift apart. Things change. This idea that we have to stay together for the end of time is kind of ridiculous, but it's not ridiculous in itself to be married or to be committed forever. I mean, some people have a very committed relationship with their parents where they're always there for them, even through the hard times, even when they don't want to talk to them. I would say, why can't you have that same relationship with your man or your woman? Unless they do something shisty, like cheating or something violent, then yeah, get out of there.
This is your independence. This is your autonomy. Please just think very long and hard before you enter these contracts, because getting out of marriage, going through a divorce is a grueling process. Co-parenting with somebody who is being difficult, who is trying to control you, is a all-consuming process.
See, that right there goes for everyone though. That goes for everyone that's willing to have a child with somebody else. You don't have to be married to go through the struggles of being a single parent or co-parenting. That's just a responsibility of being a parent in general, whether you're in a relationship or not. Being married doesn't make it extra hard or extra worse. If anything, it makes it easier because of child support and alimony.
You need to really understand what you're signing up for when you do that. This is not something that you do unless you are absolutely sure. Again, it's super nuanced, and there are legal protections that work in women's favor when it comes to marriage. But if I were to give you any kind of advice, avoid getting married, make your own money, do your own thing with your life. Do not put all your eggs in the basket of a man. Because once you get married and once you have those children, everything is different. You do not have that same freedom anymore. You will not have that same opportunity anymore. You can still make it happen. And there are women who their children are like the best thing. It's like, I totally understand. I respect that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to be very hard and it's going to be very different. Being single and childless is a fucking flex. Okay? It is. It's much better than being in a grueling divorce, being in an unhappy marriage, being controlled by a man, or having to co-parent with someone.
At the end of the day, I understand where she's coming from, but this is coming from a jaded mindset. This is coming from red pill or the femcells. This is coming from a mindset that men are here to fuck women over and women should get everything they can out of a man. This is terrible. This is a pessimistic mindset that will be the fall of society because people won't want to be in relationships anymore and they want to just be promiscuous. That's the fall of society. The backbone of our communities is relationships, whether you like it or not, whether you're married or not. The backbone of families is relationships. Could you imagine if we lived in a society where everyone was promiscuous, nobody committed to each other, and everybody's kids were essentially fatherless because nobody really knew who's the father because they have so many partners? That's a Black Mirror episode waiting to happen. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but oh well. Let me know what you guys thought about this story down below in the comment section. I think it's very interesting and I enjoy having these conversations to understand where people come from because the majority of the time, they're coming from a place of without. They're coming from a place of hope for their current situation. And I need people to understand the other side. And I hope people understand that where they think, where they stand today may change in the future based on their experiences in life. And that is true for all. If there's another video you guys want me to react to, make sure you leave it down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.